Hey everyone! Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm so excited to share my latest project with you. I'm making a clock out of epoxy. Actually, I'm fixing a clock that didn't turn out so great when I first started experimenting with epoxy. But now, armed with experience and lots of enthusiasm, I'm ready to transform it into something beautiful. First step, I'm adding a black epoxy base. I've mixed the epoxy with a black pigment until it's really thick and opaque, so thick, in fact, that it barely even spreads by itself. I'm using a spatula to coat the entire surface of the clock. It feels incredibly satisfying to smooth it out and watch it cover all the imperfections. Next, I want to create these gorgeous wave-like effects. To do this, I'm pouring a thin line of clear epoxy, then adding a thin line of white epoxy on top, and finally a thin line of gold epoxy. I love these colors together. They really pop against the black background. Now I grab my heat gun or hairdryer and move the epoxy around to form that flowing wave shape. Watching the colors swirl and blend is always a magical moment for me. It never gets old because I'm going for a layered wave effect. I repeat the same process a few more times. Clear epoxy, white epoxy, then gold, each time gently guiding them with the heat gun. This step is so mesmerizing. I'm always in awe of how the epoxy flows and interacts. It's like painting with liquid glass. Off camera, I realized that it needed a touch of extra sparkle, and I can't resist adding stones. So, I sprinkle a handful of stones randomly across the surface, letting them settle in the epoxy. They add this wonderful texture and interest that I felt was missing. Finally, I let the whole piece cure and ta-da! Here's the finished clock. I'm so happy with how it turned out, especially compared to my very first attempt. It's amazing to see how far I've come in working with epoxy, and I can't wait to try more projects and keep learning. Thank you so much for joining me on this creative journey. If you enjoyed watching this process, be sure to like this video, subscribe,